All right, let's dive into something fascinating. And I gotta say, it's also a little unsettling. It's an experiment that puts AI head-to-head with the very idea of who we are.
We hear all the time that AI is going to take our jobs. But the person behind this experiment, they took it a huge step further. They wanted to see if AI could take their life, not just their job, their whole digital existence.
So that's the big question, right? Could an AI, if you fed it all of your private messages, actually become you? This is where AI stops being this abstract, techie thing out there in the cloud and becomes something incredibly personal.
Okay, so how did they actually test this? What was the plan? Well, it was a week-long test. The goal was to see if an AI clone could step in and totally impersonate its creator in every single digital conversation, and see if anyone would notice.
Let's break down the rules of this crazy experiment. First, the goal. Totally replace the human in every single email, every text. And the data they used to build this thing? Get this. 10 years of personal messages. A whole decade of their life. Then they let it run live for a full week. The real test? See if anyone, friends, co-workers, could sniff out the imposter.
So how in the world do you even build a digital version of a person? The creator came up with a pretty great name for it. Vibe coding. And honestly, that's the perfect way to describe it.
It all came down to a three-step process. The whole idea was to capture a person's digital vibe and bake it into a bot. Step 1, collect all that data we talked about, a decade's worth. Step 2, feed it all to an AI model so it learns everything, not just the words, but the humor, the tone, the little quirks. And then, step 3, the really wild part, you go live. You just let the AI take over.
Okay, so a full week goes by. The AI clone has been handling every single message, every email. Now, it's the moment of truth.
And here's the million-dollar question. Did anyone notice? After a whole week, you'd think someone would catch on, right? The little inside jokes, the way you phrase things, surely that would give the game away.
Nope, nobody noticed. And that's the stunning part. Not a single person, not even close friends. For a whole week, they were talking to an AI clone and they had absolutely no idea. The experiment, it was a complete success.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This huge tech success? It didn't feel like a win at all. In fact, it was just the opposite. The creator said the success brought on this wave of existential dread.
And that dread, it came from a really crushing realization. See, we all like to think our personality is special, that we're complex and unique. But the AI proved that all that uniqueness, our entire digital vibe, was really just a predictable pattern. It was a data set that an algorithm could figure out and replicate. Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
But out of that really awful feeling came this powerful insight. It completely flipped the script. The experiment wasn't really about what AI can do, it was about what it can't do. And this leads to the big takeaway from this whole thing. It's a way of thinking about how we can thrive in a world filled with AI, and it's called the human premium.
It turns out the AI's failures were way more important than its successes. I mean, think about it. It couldn't show real empathy or be vulnerable. It obviously has no physical presence. It can't just come up with a brilliant, random idea out of nowhere. And it definitely can't make a moral judgment. And that's where we shine. That's the human premium.
So this strategy becomes pretty clear, doesn't it? It's not about trying to compete with AI where it's already super strong. You're not going to outcalculate a computer. The real move is to double down on all the skills that make us human, the stuff that we're irreplaceable at. And that really brings it all back to us, to you and me. This whole experiment leaves us with a really big personal question to think about. In a world where your digital vibe can be copied, what's left? What is it about you that can't be turned into a predictable pattern? What is your human premium?